I worked the night shift as a highway maintenance operator on a rural stretch of road known as Mile 27. It was the kind of road nobody drove unless they absolutely had to. 2 lanes, no lights, thick forest on both sides. During the day, it was boring. At night, it felt forgotten. My job was simple. Sit in a small roadside control cabin, monitor traffic cameras, answer the emergency radio, and report accidents or breakdowns. From 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., I was completely alone. No coworkers, no passing cars most nights, just the hum of old electronics and the wind hitting the trees. At 1:42 a.m., the radio crackled. That alone was unusual. Most calls came through the phone, not the radio. The radio was supposed to be for patrol units, but patrols had been discontinued on that stretch years ago. I leaned forward. Control cabin, Mile 27. Who's transmitting? Static. Then a voice. Low, male, strained. Is anyone there? Yes, I said. This is maintenance control. What's your emergency? The voice hesitated. I think I crashed. I pulled up the traffic cameras. All of them showed empty road. Where are you located? I asked. I don't know, he said. It's dark. I hit something. Are you injured? I don't think so, he replied. But my headlights don't work anymore. That didn't sit right with me. Even if the lights were broken, the emergency camera sensors should have detected a stopped vehicle. Can you see a mile marker? I asked. A pause. It says 27. My skin prickled. That's where I am, I said. I don't see any vehicles on the road. Another pause, longer this time. Then he said quietly, I'm not on the road. Before I could ask what he meant, the radio cut to static. I tried calling back. Nothing. At 2:03 a.m., the phone rang. No caller ID. I answered. Maintenance control? Heavy breathing filled the line. Then the same voice from the radio. I got out of the car. I shouldn't have. Sir, I said, trying to stay calm. Where are you now? I followed the trees, he whispered. There's a building. My heart started racing. There are no buildings near Mile 27. Yes, he said. There is. A small one. With lights on. My stomach dropped, because the only building out here was my cabin. Can you see the door? I asked slowly. Yes, he said. It's locked. I glanced over my shoulder at the metal door behind me. It shouldn't be, I said. He laughed softly. That's what I thought too. The phone line filled with a new sound. Knocking. Not on the phone, on my door. 3 slow knocks. I didn't move. I can see you now, the man said through the phone. I waved. Why didn't you wave back? The pounding turned into pounding. The lights in the cabin flickered. I whispered, Who are you? There was a smile in his voice when he answered. You called me first. The phone went dead. The pounding stopped. Silence. I sat frozen for what felt like hours. Eventually, morning came. When the B shift arrived, I told them everything. They laughed it off, said I'd fallen asleep, had a stress dream. But when they checked the road, they found a wrecked car deep in the forest, wrapped around a tree. The driver had died on impact. The time of death, 1:41 a.m., 1 minute before the radio call. I quit that day. They shut down Mile 27 6 months later after multiple reports of radio interference. Sometimes, though, when I drive at night and the signal cuts out, I hear the radio crackle.
and a familiar voice asking, "Is anyone there?"
I took the fire lookout job because I needed to disappear for a while. No city, no neighbors, no questions. Just a wooden tower bolted into the side of a mountain, rising above miles of dense forest. My job was simple. Watch for smoke, report fires, stay awake. The tower was 4 stories high, with a single room at the top, windows on all sides. A narrow metal staircase spiraling down to the forest floor. They told me the isolation would get to me. They were right. By the 3rd week, the silence wasn't peaceful anymore. It pressed against my ears. At night, the forest didn't feel empty. It felt like it was holding its breath. There was no cell service, just a radio that connected me to the ranger station 20 miles away. On my 26th night, at exactly 2:17 a.m., I woke up to knocking. 3 slow knocks on glass. I bolted upright. The door was behind me. The windows surrounded the room. The knocking came again, to my left. Tap, tap, tap. I turned slowly. There was nothing outside the window but black forest and starlight. I told myself it was a branch, wind, an animal, even though the tower stood well above the tree line. Another knock. This time behind me. I spun around. The window behind the desk. Empty. But the sound, it wasn't random. It was moving. Circling the tower. Knocking once at each window. Clockwise. Slowly. I grabbed a flashlight and pressed it against the glass, shining it down the length of the tower. Nothing clung to the walls. Nothing climbed the stairs. But the knocking continued. Now faster. Window to window. Closer together. Like whatever it was, it picked up speed. My radio crackled suddenly. Relief flooded me. "Ranger station?" I said, trying to sound steady. Static. Then a voice. My voice. "Don't look down." I froze. I didn't say that. I whispered. The radio crackled again. Too late. The knocking stopped. Complete silence. My heartbeat was loud enough to fill the room. And then, a single heavy thud from directly beneath the floor. The wooden boards trembled under my boots. Something was on the staircase, climbing, slow. Metal creaked under weight. Step, creak, step, creak. I backed toward the center of the room. The staircase led up through a square opening in the floor, with a hatch I could close if needed. I dropped to my knees and pulled the hatch shut, locked it. The climbing didn't stop. The metal groaned closer, then stopped directly beneath the hatch. Silence. I held my breath. Something scraped across the underside of the wood. Slowly. Deliberately. Like fingers dragging across it. Then... Knock, knock, knock on the hatch. From inches below my face. My entire body shook. "Go away," I muttered. The radio turned on again by itself. "You're in my tower." The voice no longer sounded exactly like mine. It was layered, like multiple versions speaking at once. The hatch handle began to rattle. Once, twice, then violently. The wood splintered. A crack split across it. Through the crack, I saw something moving. Not a face, not hands, just darkness shifting. And then, my alarm went off. 6 a.m. Sunlight poured through the windows. The hatch was intact. No cracks, no damage.
The staircase was empty. I laughed. A weak, shaky laugh. Just a nightmare. Isolation does things to you. That's what they warn you about. I made coffee, stepped outside to breathe the cold morning air. And that's when I saw it, carved into the wooden railings circling the tower platform. Words. Fresh. Deep. Go back to sleep. The letters were cut from the outside, facing inward, as if whoever carved them had been standing on the air. I packed my things immediately, radioed the ranger station, told them I was coming down early. No response. Just static. I descended the staircase slowly, step by step. Halfway down, I noticed something that made my stomach drop. There were muddy footprints on the steps. Large, bare, leading up, not down. They stopped at the hatch. I didn't finish my shift. I drove straight back to town. Didn't look in the rearview mirror once. That was 6 months ago. Last night, I woke up at 2:17 a.m. 3 knocks on my bedroom window. I live on the 4th floor.
I used to work the overnight shift at a small local radio station. Not a big corporate one, just a quiet, independent FM station that mostly played old rock and took late-night requests from insomniacs and truck drivers. From midnight to 5 a.m., I was completely alone. The station sat at the edge of town, near a stretch of empty highway and abandoned farmland. At night, it felt cut off from the world, the kind of place where silence wasn't peaceful. It was heavy. My job was simple. Cue songs, read the occasional weather update, and answer calls. Most nights, nothing happened. Until October 17th. It was 3:13 a.m. I remember the exact time because the digital clock above the soundboard flickered when it changed from 3:12 to 3:13. That's when every sound in the building stopped. The low hum of the equipment, the faint buzz from the fluorescent lights, even the air conditioning. Silence. Not power outage silence. Different. The equipment lights were still on. The broadcast signal monitor showed we were still live. But in my headphones, nothing. No music. No static. Just emptiness. I pulled off the headphones and looked around the studio. Everything looked normal. The red on-air sign was glowing. Then it started. A sound in my headphones. Not music. Breathing. Slow. Steady. Close to the microphone. I froze. The mic in front of me was muted. I checked twice. The breathing continued. Then a voice. My voice. If you can hear this, don't look behind you. My blood ran cold. I hadn't said that. I was alone. I slowly turned in my chair anyway. The studio door behind me was closed. The hallway beyond the small window was dark. Empty. I swallowed and leaned toward the console. This is station 94.7. I said carefully into the mic. If this is some kind of interference, please identify yourself. Static crackled. Then the voice came back. Still mine. You shouldn't have answered the call. I didn't remember answering any call. But as soon as the voice said it, the phone line indicator began flashing. Line 2. Incoming. With shaking fingers, I pressed the button. Hello. Silence. Then very faintly, the sound of music. It took me a second to recognize it. It was the song that had been playing before everything went silent. Except distorted. Like it was playing underwater. Who is this? I asked. The caller finally spoke. It was a whisper. You're not in the studio. My stomach dropped. What? You haven't been for a while. The light went dead. The music in my headphones returned abruptly. Mid-song. Like nothing had happened. The station
station clock now read 3:47 a.m. I stared at it. That was impossible. I checked my phone. 3:47.
I had lost 34 minutes. I didn't remember them. Panic started to creep in. I stood up and walked to the studio door. The hallway lights flickered as I stepped out. The building felt wrong, longer. The hallway seemed stretched, like the walls had subtly shifted outward. Every footstep echoed too loudly. When I reached the restroom mirror at the end of the hall, I stopped. My reflection stared back, pale, sweating. But something was off. My reflection wasn't breathing. My chest rose and fell. The reflections didn't. I stepped closer. It smiled. I wasn't smiling. I stumbled back, heart slamming against my ribs. The hallway lights went out. Complete darkness. From somewhere in the building, the speakers turned on, and my voice filled the halls. You're still on air. Emergency lights flickered on in dim red. At the far end of the hallway, the studio door stood open. I was sure I had closed it. Inside, I could see someone sitting in my chair, back turned to me, wearing my jacket, headphones on, talking into the mic. My voice echoed through the building. I can see you. The figure slowly turned its head. Not fully, just enough for me to see its profile. It was me, but wrong. Eyes too dark, smile too wide. The broadcast monitor on the wall lit up with a live feed camera. It showed the studio, the chair, empty. I looked back toward the doorway. The figure was gone. The hallway lights snapped back to normal. The speakers went silent. I stood there shaking for what felt like minutes. Finally, I forced myself back into the studio. Everything looked normal. The playlist was running. The mic was muted. The clock read 4:02 a.m. I sat down carefully. My chair was warm, like someone had just been sitting in it. At 4:59 a.m., the morning host arrived. He found me standing outside in the parking lot. I don't remember going out there. I quit that day, walked away from radio forever. For months, nothing happened. Until last week. I was driving home late from work. Different job, different life. The radio turned on by itself. 94.7 FM. Static at first. Then breathing. Then my voice. Live.